All right, starting this week of the SportsMax Zone with cricket. West Indies defeated Bangladesh by 5 wickets in the first one-day international at Warner Park in St Kitts on Sunday, breaking an 11-match losing streak against the Bangladeshis to take a 1-0 lead in the 3-match series, where the Bangladeshis, having elected to bat, fast bowlers Romaria Shepherd with 3 for 51 and Elzara Joseph 2 for 67 managed to contain the visitors for large portions of the innings, despite a 79-run third-wicket stand between skipper Mahidi Hassan and opener Tanzid Hassan. Mahidi 74 and Tanzid 60 constructed a steady partnership by capitalizing on missed opportunities from the Caribbean side, leaving Zakir Ali 48 to put the finishing touches on the innings, pushing the visitors to 294 for 6 from their 50 overs. The Caribbean side were in trouble as early as the 8th over in their response at 27 for 2, losing openers Brandon King for 9 and Evan Lewis for 16. All that was, however, made irrelevant by a 99-run momentum-shifting 4th wicket stand between skipper Shea Hope 86 and player of the match Sherfin Rutherford, who notched a maiden ODI century 113. The duo smashed 12 sixes between them to wrestle the game away from the Tigers as the West Indies wrapped up what once seemed a challenging chase in 47.4 overs at 295 for 5. Now, despite a comfortable chase from the hosts, Bangladesh captain Mahidi Hassan Miraz says his batters put enough runs on the board. He says 249 is a very good score on this kind of pitch. Credit to West Indies, especially Shea Hope and Sherfin Rutherford. We started really well, but we didn't bowl well in the middle overs. We didn't get wickets. Meanwhile, player of the match, Rutherford, spoke through how the true nature of the wicket influenced his game plan. Yeah, so a terrific knock from Sherfin Rutherford and a fabulous victory for the West Indies. Let's now get the thoughts of Nikhil Uttamchandani, who as usual was on commentary. But before we get Nikhil in on the conversation, let's hear from Rutherford, the player of the match.
It was a bit tough to start for me, but it was a good wicket. So, I plan to give myself some time, and, as long as I give myself some time, I can always make up in the end. And the conversation with the skipper was just, take it deep and, remind me that he can make it up in the back end.
Yeah, Sherfin Rutherford, what a terrific knock. Let's now get Nikhil Uttamchandani in on this conversation. Nikhil Uttamchandani, what a brilliant chase from the West Indies. What a terrific combination. Shea Hope, the captain, and Sherfin Rutherford finishing it magnificently. At how many points in that stage, Nikhil, let me start here, were you genuinely concerned that the West Indies might just fall short?
Yeah, definitely, Ricardo. I think the way that Lewis and King began the innings, it wasn't the usual dominance that we've seen when the two of them have gotten off. We think back to the first one international against England, where they put on that big partnership. So, yeah, there was some concern there, especially knowing what Bangladesh had to come in terms of their spin department. And also, we weren't sure if the surface would become a bit more conducive as it got drier and we got late into the day. And then even when Rutherford came in, 94 for 3 in the 22nd over, with the West Indies needing 8 runs and over from that point, there definitely would have been some people thinking, well, this could easily go the other way. And this is where I think the West Indies deserve credit. How many times have we seen a run rate required of 8 and over go up to 10 and 11 and 12? Whilst there were a lot of dots consumed early on in the innings, and that is a continued point of focus for that batting lineup. What they did really well was make sure that it was always within touching distance. And when the 30th over came, I thought they flicked the switch beautifully, and it's a sign of a quality batting lineup that I think you compare that approach to the other teams in the world who are at the top, and that's the way they go about things.
Yeah, 130 for 3, the score after 30 overs. When we got to 40 overs, it was 212 for 4, and by the 42nd over, 235 for 4. The West Indies, by that stage, very much in charge. Let's talk about Sherfane Rutherford and this rich vein of form that he's in, because he's now gone 5 consecutive one-day international innings where he's had a 50-plus score, joining a real elite list. I mean, Gordon Greenwich, Chris Gayle, Shea Hope, they all have 6. But what has changed in Sherfane's game that he's able to produce this level of consistency?
I was just going to call out the names, Ricardo. I think that's esteem list says it all in terms of what achievement that is. But look, I don't know if a lot has changed. To be honest, you know, he has told me that he's gotten a lot more serious about his game, and I think we see it all across the world, where he just scored a T10 100 a few days ago before this series. I've visibly seen him. One thing he confessed to me was in the Australia series, he started going early. So there will be a couple buses leaving with players in from the hotel every morning. And Rutherford is always on the first bus. You always see him and Floridifa in the nets, and he always makes sure he gets a hit in before the game starts. Now, obviously, this is something that works for some players. Some players prefer to just consume their energy or sort of save their energy for the game. So it seems to me that him getting in that repetition and sort of acclimatizing before a game begins has drastically helped him. But what I really enjoy about the way he goes about his 50-over batting is just he gives himself a chance. Sri Lanka was the same thing in tough conditions. Yesterday, 17 off 26 balls, ends up scoring 113 off 80 balls. It is amazing, and he knows he has the power, and what he does is just back himself to make sure he gets in, gets set, and regardless of whatever the surface is, he believes he can make up and sort of make sure he spends enough time to impact the game in a winning way. It is phenomenal the way he has gone and the consistency with which he has found.
Yeah, and how important is this type of consistency, Nikhil, especially in a team where, yes, you have quality, but it is inconsistent quality. So to find this level of consistency in the middle order from a player who hasn't always, at least in my estimation, been the first choice, must be significant for the team and for Coach Darren Sammy.
For sure, and I think what he gives you, Ricardo, is a lot of different things. First of all, the West Indies, we've talked so much about that middle overs problem and the problem against spin. Rutherford showed in Sri Lanka, he showed yesterday, he showed in all 5 innings that he's very capable of playing the sweep. He's good against it, sort of using his feet and his power game. And what I think this last month has shown West Indian fans is that we have to be optimistic about this batting lineup. So often we've relied on Shea Hope when it's come to making runs in the 50-over format. You've had Evan Lewis, Brandon King, Casey Carty, and now Sherfane Rutherford all get one-day international hundreds. And I think that in itself is a big achievement for a batting that really has been Shea Hope or bust if you go back to 2023.
Yeah, and it was so good to see that, as you make that point, Nikhil, because, you know, getting the winning runs from, of course, Justin Greaves, then Shea Hope getting the 86, and, you know, contributions from different players is something that, you know, we always hope for. Most times we don't get it, but as you said, it was a positive thing that, you know, we can hold on to and hope that moving forward, these players could continue to step up. A quick comment on the bowling. Romario Shepherd, Alzarri Joseph were the most successful of the bowlers, you know, getting the job done.
Yeah, I thought, Mariah, obviously there's always room for improvement. And if we're being extra critical, we could probably look at the new ball spell. I mean, they still got 2 wickets, which was good. But I think the way Tanzin attacked them sort of put them on the back foot. Jaden Seals was hit off his good length that he bowls so consistently a few times. And, I mean, credit to the way they went about things. They really came out firing after winning the toss. A brave decision to bat first. And I thought the way they pulled it back towards the end of that 10-over period was good. And then even at the back end, although they gave away 84 runs, they were also quite, you know, consistent in their execution. The way I thought they bowled in the middle overs, though, to keep Bangladesh just 5 and over, where they were sort of cruising going into that phase, that to me was the thing that really stood out. And I think was the difference between them getting 310, 315 and 294.
Yeah, something that stood out was the poor catching, Casey Carty. What happened to him on the day? Nikhil, did you have a chat with him after?
I did not, Maria, but again, no cricketer ever wants to drop a catch. And obviously, it's been a good sort of couple of months for KC with bat in hand. Yeah. But the catching, if we go back to the Sri Lanka series, has been a bit of a concern. And I mean, you want to make yourself indispensable in any team. So it'll certainly be an area where he would want to work on. But yeah, I'm sure he won't be feeling great about putting a couple of catches down.
Yeah, Nikhil, the Casey Carty drop catches aside, I thought the out cricket and the bowling for the West Indies would have been pretty decent on the day. And you just referenced the number of dot balls that the West Indies endured, which continues to be a problem. But Bangladesh had just as many, didn't they, dot balls? Does the West Indies pressure while they were bowling take some credit for that?
Definitely, Lance. I think 155 for Bangladesh is good from the West Indies. And again, I thought it was in the middle overs where they really turned it on. And even though they didn't get wickets, they only picked up 3 in the middle. I thought the way that they kept things as tight as possible, although they weren't dismissing Mahedi and others, was very good because it set up the game. And look, Shea Hope deserves some credit because many people would have thought, all right, let's save Alzari, let's save Romario Shepherd for the back end. He ended up giving them third spells, both of them actually, and both of them were able to break those long-lasting partnerships. So his captaincy deserves some credit. For a lot of the innings, he only had 3 fielders outside the circle in the middle when he was allowed 4. And I think it's easy to overlook some of those things, but they really do make a difference and add up. Had it been 15 or 20 more runs, I'm sure the West Indies, given the position, may have still chased it. But you never know with a psychological advantage. And 300 has never been chased at that ground, so you just never know.
Yeah, and you know what? We've already spoken about the batting and how well it applied itself to the job at hand and how they quickened the run rate when they needed to. And we've spoken about Rutherford already, but I want you to say something about Rutherford's resilience because he was hit twice in the helmet, one of them resulting in a cut to his chin. So for him to rebound with the kind of innings that he played under that kind of pressure does tell you something about his resilience.
Yeah, I think it speaks to clarity of thought, to be honest. I mean, the very next delivery after he got the second hit, he went short again, and Rutherford sort of blind hooked it for 4. And immediately then you thought, right, everybody's going to bowl a short ball to him. Nahid Rana came into the attack, set an extra fielder deep on the leg side, sort of bluffed him. But what we did see was him continue to take on that short ball. And after a while, they really couldn't go to that plan anymore because he was so good against it. I think they will probably still think, Bangladesh, that it's a tactic. But as you said, what we do see from him is resilience, clarity of thought to sort of forget what has happened in the past. And look, the main winning situation out of all of that was for him to be there. He wasn't there all the way to the end, but for him to make sure he saw the chase home and win the game for the West Indies. I thought that was the most important thing, even after being hit and after all he went through and endured during that innings.
Yeah, Nikhil, in about 15 seconds, because we're very much out of time, I want your take on Justin Graves batting in that number 6 position, of course, coming into the side based on his superb Super 50 performances, but the 401 runs came in the opening position, and now he's been asked to bat in that number 6 position. How do you feel about that as a long-term plan?
I think it's a very good plan, Ricardo. Obviously, for his bowling, like we saw yesterday, even though he wasn't as successful, thought he gave Shea Hope an additional option, which was really important. But when I watched him in the Super 50, a lot of his skill set was the way he accelerated outside the first 10 overs. And I think that skill set is transferable. The ability against spin, like we saw yesterday, the ability to rotate, strike, and consume minimal dot balls, I think it can be applied to anywhere you bat in the batting order. And he showed that yesterday with his efficiency at the crease. So I'm all in favour. And I think credit to him, more power to him because of how flexible he can be anywhere he bats in a batting lineup.
All right, well, you don't really know 15 seconds, but we'll forgive you for today. Nikhil Chandani, thank you very much. We'll be watching tomorrow in that second one-day international to see if the West Indies can go 2-0 up, of course. All these matches are extremely important. By the way, the 295 chase, the highest successful chase at Warner Park in St. Kitts and Nevis in one-day internationals. Also, the highest score ever at the ground, batting second in an ODI game. Just for context, in terms of the quality of the West Indies. Yeah, everybody knows I'm like that. Let's go to break.
Thanks, Nikhil.